Jeremy, sure, what's going on? And he's like, hey, buddy, I need a speaker for Renegade. And I was like, oh. He's like, I don't know about that big guy. I was like, I'm leaving to Florida for a week. I really don't have time. But you know how persistent Jeremy is, so he keeps twisting my arm. So that excuse didn't work. So then I was like, listen, man, I don't feel comfortable. I know half these guys out here. Most of them have been mentors, and they've been doing deals for 3 times as long as I have. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. He's like, come on, man. He's like, I'm telling you what. He's like, you've got a few things. He's like, what about this, this, and this? So he got me thinking a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I guess, whoops. I'm going to go back. I guess everybody has something to contribute. Everyone has lessons they've learned in life, and it's good we can learn from each other, and we can build and motivate one another off that stuff. So I'm going to cover a couple things tonight. Jeremy wanted me to talk about my transition, how I got into real estate. Essentially, my approach to real estate is very different from a lot of investors. It's not traditional. And then go through a couple deals and give you guys some lessons I've learned the last 4 or so years, 5 years that I've been in business. So to give you a brief background, I know that I network a lot, and I always love hearing people's backgrounds, like where they came from, what shaped them, what makes them think the way that they do. And so I figured it'll give you guys a better perspective on my approach to business if I give you a brief background on me as a kid and how I grew up. And then you'll understand why I approach the business the way that I do. So growing up, my dad was we're very middle class, grew up downriver, Brownstown, Gibraltar. My parents lived in the same 900 square foot house I was born in. And my dad was an engineer, so he's real black and white. And we are not alike at all. We clash heads a little bit. And Jeremy will vouch for this. He's probably the most frugal man that you'll ever meet. I mean, he keeps socks and he has holes in them. And he's super, frugal's probably a nice term to use.
I still really like him for some reason.
He's very, very cheap. And so I had secondhand clothes until I was in high school. But one of the best things my parents taught me was work ethic. And growing up, I did chores around the house. My parents taught me how to budget and how to tithe. And I worked on my grandparents' farm in the summers. And so the biggest thing that shaped me as a kid was really learning a work ethic and learning what was important and learning how to follow through on things. So 10 years old, my parents got me a paper route. They're like, listen, we'll co-sign for you. The News Herald didn't want to give me a paper route, but they did it anyway. So got a paper route, and I kept that all throughout high school. I worked at McDonald's as well while I was in high school, so I had 2 jobs. But when I was a 10-year-old kid, I'll tell you a brief story about my dad so you get an idea how cheap he was. But I wanted this action figure. I was 10, I got my paper route, my first monthly check, and I wanted to buy this action figure. It was like $5. He's like, no, you don't need an action figure. He's like, you need to save for college and a car, and you don't need a $5 action figure, right? I'm like, come on, Dad. So I'm nagging my mom, like, Mom, I want to buy this action figure. Pop's gonna let me buy it, you know? And she's like, well, negotiate with them on a percentage of the paper route money that you can keep and spend on stuff that you want. So I'm a 10-year-old kid. I'm not very good at negotiations yet. So I go to this, I'm like, come on, Dad, give me a certain dollar amount that I can spend every month on stuff I want. I can't save 100% of it. And anyway, we end up coming to terms. I get $10 a month out of like 150 or 60 bucks that I make in a month that I get to spend on what I want. So the whole time throughout like 8 years that I had this paper, I had to save all the money. It was ridiculous. But I graduated like high school and I had a bunch of money in the bank. It was good. So anyway, that's how cheap my dad was. And it wasn't until high school I was able to buy like decent clothes and stuff.
What action figure?
It was a G.I. Joe or a Ninja Turtle or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. So anyway, that now I'm an Eagle Scout as well. I was in Boy Scouts and my parents wouldn't let me quit. All those kids that you get up into high school and it's like, this isn't cool anymore, I want to call it quits. Parents wouldn't let me quit. So they taught me to follow through and you finish what you start, which is important. Especially in this business because it's brutal. So to give you an idea that I'm not like I used to ride motorcycles and I was a crazy kind of skull t-shirt, jeans guy. I was not business professional at all growing up. And it wasn't until 2.5 years in college that I made the shift and decided I want to change who I was and where I was going. So I went to college for engineering originally, which I didn't know what I wanted to do. My pops is an engineer. I was like, all right, I'll go to engineering school, right? Well, that didn't work out very well. It was brutal. I hated it. I had scholarships. I did really well in high school. And then I slacked off, skipped class, lost my scholarships, got kicked out of my fraternity. And that was one of the 2 lowest moments in my life because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like, what do I do with my life? I'm miserable. I hate this. I don't want to spend the rest of my life at some desk job. You know, it's complete drudgery. So I ended up picking up a book in the middle of one of the summers. It was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure a lot of you guys have read that. And that book literally changed my perspective on what was possible and how I saw the world. Because growing up downriver in a middle-class family, I didn't even know that Oakland County existed until I was in college. I didn't know all the people that were wealthy and successful. I knew blue-collar guys that drank and spent their money every week and lived paycheck to paycheck, and that was it. So I ended up changing majors, changed schools, decided to go into business, and hit it hard. And I was 2.5 years into college, so I kind of had to play catch-up a little bit. So that's where Jeremy and I met. I disciplined myself. I started networking and going to all these investment clubs and just asking as many questions as I could. And I had a couple of buddies who they were graduating, they were making decent money, and they were starting to network in Oakland County. So I'd tag along with them at like the nice restaurants and diners and would start connecting and asking all these people that were successful, like, how did you get where you're at? Like, what did you do? What's your background? And I was really hungry for it. So that led me to my transition to real estate. And essentially, I did that for a while. I transferred to U of M for business, and I did a lot in 2 years. I interned for Jeremy. I networked, found someone to mentor me and teach me the business, teach me focus. I built a student organization called SIFE, which is Students in Free Enterprise, and it's a business organization where you do community outreach projects. But that enabled me to really build a strong business network in the community. Because I built and scaled the organization, we did tons of high-profile projects with Goldman Sachs and Walgreens and Walmart, and I was able to recruit for my board of executives guys from all these high-profile companies. And since I was the president, I was the one building the organization. I built really close relationships with a lot of those guys and still have them as mentors now. So that really changed my life and my perspective of what was possible. So that was when I started changing how I acted, how I thought, how I talked, the books that I read, how I dressed. And I went from being like a real grunge, wild motorcycle kid to straight business professional, to where the guys that knew me in college, like, they didn't know my background. They thought I was just a straight-laced, like, business guy. It was pretty funny when they started getting to know me a little better and learn about my background. But so anyway, in college, I made the decision that I was going to build my own business when I graduated. And my goal is I want to learn how to build and scale companies. And I saw the opportunity in real estate. While I was in college, I started working with Jeremy. I worked for him. He mentored and taught me. I wholesaled a lot of deals. Or a couple deals anyway. It took me a long time to get progress, actually. It's brutal.
You did pretty good there at the end, though.
At the end, but I had to stick it out for, it took me a year.
I will say, too, he wasn't the most talented one.
I know I was not.
The other two were much better. He stuck around. That's all the difference. Now he's just smoking it. So.
Persistence, yeah. And Jeremy taught me quite a few lessons, too. I'll never forget. I asked him to mentor me. I don't know if you said hell no or what exactly you said, but you gave me some shit. And you're like, well,
Don't tell all my secrets. Don't tell all my secrets.
He tells me a few Navy stories. He's like, listen, anybody that gets something for free doesn't value it. If you want me to mentor you, I'll do it. But he's like, you have to donate, what was it, $100 a week?
$100 a week.
$100 a week to a nonprofit until either you make a sale, you sell one of my houses, you wholesale them, or you get some money and get some skin in the game. So I had to hustle. I mean, I didn't have that much money in the bank. I was like, I'm going to burn through cash pretty fast. And so I ended up borrowing student loans, using student loan money to start investing and get cash in the game. I think it took me 3 weeks, right? 3 or 4 weeks before
a couple months, actually. It was a couple months.
Did it? Was it a couple months?
It took you longer than you thought.
It took me longer than I thought. So I got some cash, got in the game. First few deals, learned a lot of lessons, burnt some cash, lost some money, but learned a lot of good lessons along the way. And then I saw guys that were doing it well, and they were doing it in good areas, and I saw the potential for what I could do in real estate. So I decided to make some changes, and in college, I had a bunch of companies that had made me corporate job offers. I could have taken pretty good paying jobs out of college. And I cut ties with those. I was like, sorry, I'm going to build my own business when I graduate. And I lined up a couple guys that agreed to fund deals for me. But I was graduating in January 2010, and this was right when the market started changing a little bit, and these guys are used to huge profits for 08 and 09, and they had really high profit margin expectations. So I graduated January 2010 and went full-time into it from sun to sundown, saw hundreds of homes, made tons of offers, called tons of agents, and this went on for like 6 months from sun up to sundown. I didn't have I had some cash saved up, but I didn't have enough to go out, so I didn't have any of my buddies to hang out with. It was just real estate, 6 months straight. And all the deals that I got under contract, these guys refused to fund. They wanted higher profit margins, and a lot of them were profitable deals. So I eventually got burnt out, and I was like, I've got to do something. I'm almost out of money. I've got to find a way to make an income. So I started looking for jobs at that point in time. And I essentially took a month off to take a breather, and I worked for my buddies who had a painting company. And I went out and bid exterior painting, residential painting jobs, hired my own painters, managed them, and produced a handful of painting jobs for about a month and a half, 2 months. And during that time, in looking for jobs, it might be too long of a story to go into, but I ended up, through several networks and business contacts, finding a few guys that were eventually going to back me. And at that time, I didn't know. They were the last people in the world I thought they were going to back me to build a business, but they ended up doing it. So Alan Fatel, who a lot of you guys know, gave me a shot. And I was like, been in this game for like 8 months, had burned through cash. It was like, I couldn't quit. Like, everyone was like, go back and take those corporate jobs, you'll make 70 grand a year. And I was like, I can't do that. I know in my heart I can make this work, and I'll learn faster if I stick it out. So once I made the decision that I wasn't going to go back and get a corporate job, Alan ended up letting me manage a few of his deals, and then I got a handful of deals under contract that he was willing to fund. So I got some track record, and then through my network I was just keeping up with different guys, and I was sitting down with one of the biggest commercial investors in Metro Detroit, and we were just catching up on what I was doing. And he was looking across the table. He's like, so what do you need? What are you working on? I was like, well, deal flow is a little tight right now. He's like, what about cash? He's like, need some more money? I was like, yeah, I can use some more money. He's like, well, I'll back you. I was like, all right. Like the last person I ever thought that would back me. So when we talked about terms, he's like, well, we can do a deal-by-deal basis, or if you want to structure something permanent and exclusive, then we can structure something like that. It's up to you. And so we sat down again. I told him what I really wanted more than capital to do deals was mentoring, because my end goal is to learn how to build and scale businesses, and your skill set, I think, is the most valuable thing. It's how you develop your skills every day and how you grow. And I realized that the opportunity was in having him mentor me. But he's a younger guy, he's built a handful of companies, and he's got like 3 huge companies that he runs and still involved with, anywhere from $20 to $60 million a year companies. It's huge. And so he was like, James, I don't have time to mentor you, but I've got another older guy from YPO who just sold a big company, and I'll bring him in as a partner. And he can provide the mentoring, I'll help put up the capital, and we'll structure a business. So that's how we ended up structuring Luxury Updated Homes, which is the company that I'm currently working on building. So my strategy is a little different than a lot of the guys in the game. A lot of guys will balance different investors, they partner on a deal-by-deal basis. That was never my intent. I want to build a lasting company, and I want to build a brand in the marketplace. And I see an opportunity to not only turn over and renovate properties in high demand areas, but also do new construction, do it all under one brand and really build a name. Not a lot of guys have done that in the business. So that's my long-term goal. And to do that, I really needed bank financing, and I only needed 1 or 2 strategic partners, which is always my goal, to get a couple really high net worth guys, hang out with those guys that are in that crew, like learn from them, and then get a couple guys to back you to where you're not going to need any more cash. And so that was my strategy. It was different from balancing 15 different investors and trying to balance them from job to job and then losing them. I just thought that was too much maintenance. I'm going to find a couple guys, I'm going to be loyal to them and make them a hell of a lot of money, and they're going to stay with me in the long run. So that's how I ended up structuring the business. Jeremy wanted me to talk about pipeline, rehab, finance, and sales. So pipeline, I've been buying stuff off the MLS just like you guys have the past 2 years. I just bought one 2 weeks ago off the MLS in Birmingham. And this time it was from a private seller. It wasn't from a bank, which is the first non-bank owned property that I purchased. But I've just recently started changing and doing direct marketing again, which was done back in the day a lot. And I've got huge responses. I've only started mailing Birmingham. I haven't even mailed all of it yet. And I've already sat down with a handful of private sellers. And I'm negotiating on 2 big deals right now that we might end up getting them to sign on. One would be a condo conversion, and the other one's a vacant lot I'm going to sell off to a builder. But the direct marketing stuff works. I'm doing it, and I'm getting tons of responses every week. So I'm doing both of those, the direct marketing and the MLS. And the third thing I've been working on for a while now, is direct bank pipeline. There's a lot of smaller banks that still hold their assets, and so I've been working on either a partnership proposal or just the relationship aspect to buy pipeline directly. Because if I want to scale a decent sized company, I need pipeline. I'm going to have to get it from the bankers and from the big dogs. So I've been working on a proposal to go to those guys and either structure one of 2 things. If I structure a partnership where I say, listen, we've got brand value, every property that we put on market gets bid up above what market value is. We sell everything in a day. The bank's concern is they don't want to flood the market with properties. They don't want to bring pricing down. We can help you. You put up the property, we'll come in with the cash, we'll reduce your risk. I'll manage the rehab, we'll put it under our brand, we'll brand it, we'll sell it for a premium, we'll market it, we'll do it faster, we'll cut down your holding time, and we'll give you a percentage of profits on the backside. So I'm working on a proposal to where I could kind of change the industry a little bit, maybe if I do go this route, it works out. Start with a couple smaller banks, and then if it works, it's profitable for them, maximize their financials. I could take that model and scale it and then do it with other banks. Because there's always foreclosed properties. There always has been throughout history. So that's one other thing I'm working on for a pipeline. So those are the 3 ways I can get pipeline: MLS, direct mail, and banks. For rehab, George Gillen, I've got a guy who's great. I actually got through Jeremy working with him back in the day. And he used to be a construction manager, did a lot of developments, condo development, stuff like that. He's essentially my in-house contract manager. I pay him a salary, I pay him a fixed salary per year, and he manages all the renovations for us. I still hire and screen all the subcontractors. I interview those guys personally, and then I have George double check them, and I pay him all directly, and then George is just fixed overhead for his salary. But on the rehab side, the thing that I've tried to do different, I'm still getting better at it all the time, is going into this, I had a different approach. A lot of investors want to maximize the dollar amount per deal, and they want to maximize their profit. So when they get into a tight deal, they'll cut corners, they'll leave stuff undone, they won't use quality materials, and they'll do what they have to do to keep their profit margin set. My approach has been the opposite. I over-renovate. Every house that we go into, even when I started doing smaller deals in Lathrop Village, I would over-renovate for the market to try to build brand value. So I'll take a lower profit margin right now, but in the long run, I'm going to have a huge demand built up of people that want to buy my homes. If they want to buy a house in an area that's already developed in Birmingham, Franklin, Beverly Hills, they're going to come to me eventually and say, we want to buy a luxury updated home because they're the highest quality renovated homes that are on the market. Design aspect, I bring in a professional designer on every single one of them, pick out all the materials. We use high quality build products, put more attention into detail on the tile and accent designs, and then we stage them with like really nice furniture. Every single house, we'll stage it completely. All furniture, artwork, all that stuff. And then what I'll do is I'll host a pre-market networking event on the sales side of the house. And it's not an open house. It's completely different than open house. It's to build brand awareness for luxury updated homes in the business. And it's to bring in all the agents that we work with so they get a first shot at the house. Because the last 5 houses I've listed, I've sold them in a day or even pre-market. Because the quality of the home's so good, and it's the best house that's on market. So the idea behind the pre-market parties is we build brand awareness and we build loyalty with the real estate agents because they know that our house is easy commission for them. Their buyer's going to fall in love with it. Everything's perfect. We're meticulous. We don't put it on market until it's completely done. And it's going to be the best house on market. So if they look in the area, they want to get their buyer there because they're going to sign a dotted line, and eventually we'll probably sell most of these things pre-market. I won't even have to list them on the MLS anymore. And that's already started happening. I sold a couple last year before we even put them on the MLS. So those are the 4 things that Jeremy wanted me to cover. And as far as like passion, I think is the biggest thing for me in this business. And I think with anyone that if you're going to be successful, you got to figure out what God-given skill sets you have because everyone's designed differently. We all have different skill sets. My dad's a great engineer. I'm not an engineer. I'm good at business. I'm good at working with people, understanding their backgrounds. I'm good at crafting and painting the big picture and more of an artistic design approach to business. But I love business. It's fun for me. I live and breathe it every day. It'll never get boring. I can do this until I'm 85 and I'll die working because there's no ceiling. I can always learn. I can always grow. I can always do something else. And I think that when you find what you really love and you figure out what your passion is, then you're able to really produce at a higher level and you're able to enjoy your work and have a better standard of living. So I wrote this up for luxury updated homes. If you guys have watched have you seen the Simon Sinek video, The Golden Circles? You guys seen that? No? You should Google it. It's a TED video, 18 minutes. Simon Sinek talks about the Golden Circle and how different companies do business. And he gives Apple as an example compared to other failed businesses. It's a great video. I can't duplicate it. You should Google it. Simon Sinek, The Golden Circle, I think. And so I structured this off the way that he designs that through the Golden Circle. But everything that we do, we believe in fighting mediocrity. The way we fight mediocrity is by designing every product we create with an attention to quality, detail, design, and the beauty of the end product. Settling for nothing less than absolute excellence in every area. We just happen to create beautiful homes. Would you like to buy them? So that's my approach to business. It starts with the quality, and I won't sacrifice the quality for profit. Even if that means I'm going to break even on our deal or you're going to have to write a check, I'm still going to finish it top notch and keep with the brand. I think in the long run, that's going to enable me to build a long-term business as I get into new construction, which I will be doing probably this year, next year. So I thought I'd show you guys a few deals. I just sold this one in January. Traditional West Bloomfield flip, nothing super fancy, great classic neighborhood, 2,750 square foot colonial. We bought it for 135, put in 55. The sales price is actually 270. I had multiple people bid it up first day on market, but it only appraised for 259. So I had them come to the table with an extra $4,000 out of pocket. That's the most I can negotiate, but so we ended up selling for 263 instead of 270. But yeah, we renovated it, did a really great job on the tile, the design work, high quality vanities, all that stuff. Beautiful fixtures. Old Stage, this is my favorite deal last year. It was toward the end of last year. We did it in Beverly Hills. 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath house. In this house, they killed us on the appraisal too. We should have sold this thing for $415, and we couldn't because they wouldn't appraise it. This went pending, and while we were pending, a house 2 doors down was 500 square foot smaller, was outdated, was clean, but it was outdated. Went on market for $410 and got bid up to $415. Was 500 square foot less, had a bathroom and a bedroom less, and was dated. They're at $415, and we had trouble closing this thing at $377. They appraised it like $320 because they saw what we bought it for. And I had the seller or the buyer. I told him, I was like, listen, man, I'll put this thing back on market. If you want the deal, you got to come to the table with the extra $12,000 or $18,000 cash out of pocket, and I'm putting it back on market. And so he came to the table with almost $100,000 down in Beverly Hills. He had like 80 something originally, and then came with an extra 12 because he wanted the house, and he realized the market was hot, and he was going to end up getting bid back up. So we bought that one for 187, put in 70, and sold for 377. And then this one I just bought 2 weeks ago, Wimbledon in Birmingham. This was the first one I bought from a private seller. Sweet lady, wonderful lady. Told me everything about the neighborhood. It's in North Poppleton. I don't know if you guys know that neighborhood, but it's probably the 3rd most desirable neighborhood in Birmingham. You have larger lot sizes, beautiful custom homes. They're all very unique. It's just a great family environment. You have the bigger lot sizes, which is really attractive to a lot of the Birmingham buyers. So this one you can see aesthetically is kind of ugly on the exterior, but it's in a gorgeous neighborhood, and it's a really high quality 50s built home. The construction is just fantastic. So not only are we going to gut it and renovate it with really high quality build materials, but we're changing the exterior aesthetics, and then we're changing the interior layout a little bit. So on this one, as you can see, the proportions for the window, it's not proportional. It looks odd. The door's on the left side of the house. The siding proportion's not good. It's missing shutters. The windows aren't evenly spaced. It just looks like the ugly duck. So I had an architect draw up some renderings, and we're going to throw a porch overhang, change the siding dimensions, swap out the shutters, change the color. That's not going to be the actual color of the home, but that's essentially what we're going to do with it. It's going to make it feel like a solid 50s built colonial. It's going to give it more of that luxurious feel when we go to sell it. The other thing on this one is the interior. So the upper section is the before layout. You can't really see all of it, but you come up the stairs here. This is the hallway. You've got a bathroom here, a hallway bathroom, and you've got a Jack and Jill bathroom here that's in between 2 bedrooms. So originally the house is laid out like this. It's got the master bedroom here, but there's no master bathroom, and there's not a lot of closet space. You only have closet space here and a small closet here. So there's no master suite, and for a Birmingham buyer that's going to pay $500,000 for a house, they want a master suite. So originally I'm trying to figure out how we could do this, and I was trying to connect this bathroom to the master, but there's a window in the way, no room for closet space, wasn't going to work. And Chris Pero, who was the agent on this, which I double dip with him on the buy, he's like, well, measure these rooms real fast. We realized that this room was only like a little over a foot smaller than that one once we took these closets out. So we're switching the master bedroom, and what we're going to do is wall this off. So this is going to be the new master bedroom now. We're going to eliminate those closets out of the way, and then we're going to cannibalize the back half of this room for a huge walk-in master suite. So we'll have built-in cabinets, huge closet space, and it'll have its own private bathroom here with the Jack and Jill. Because we'll wall that off, and then these 2 bedrooms will share the hallway bathroom, which is the way it should have been designed in the first place. So it's just small stuff like this. I really get into looking at the project and figuring out how we can maximize value and do it well. And so even stuff like this, the house is sitting on market for 3 months before I bought it. And we didn't buy it for much less than this price, but I had the ability to see what we could do with the house and I knew the back end value, and in Birmingham and the higher end areas, people will pay a premium and they'll pay cash for it. I mean, if you look at the sales, half the sales in Birmingham are cash. $2.5 million houses, cash. So these people are a different demographic. It's easier to get your stuff to sell. Like, and I learned that with the old stage property in Beverly Hills. That guy came to the table with 100 grand cash out of pocket, and he was willing to pay the difference from the appraised value. So it's like one of those things where there is stuff like this on market. You just have to look for it, and you have to see how you can maximize the value of the home. A lot of people saw the exterior, they thought it was ugly, they didn't want to touch it. Figured out a way to fix that. And it's in a very, very high-end neighborhood. I have no doubt we'll probably sell this one before we even finish it. So I'll wrap up. I don't want to chew you guys' ears off all night. I thought of three quick lessons of what I've really learned over the past 5 years in the business. And the first is, you've got to follow your passion, not the return. The numbers don't mean everything. When you look at paper and you look at cash flow and you look in different areas, a lot of times the numbers might look really good, but you get in there and you start working with the people, and they'll stab you in the back, and they're shady, and they're going to steal from you, and it's management headaches galore. Then maybe that's not the best area where you want to invest. You know, it depends on where your passion is and what you want to do. And I figured out what my passion was. I love the design aspects, I love the business, and for me it's fun, and I love doing it every day. So figure out where your passion is in real estate, and then focus on that niche, and you'll do really well. The second thing is just stick to the fundamentals, like I mentioned. You want to focus. I mean, all the guys that have done this for years know the business. Not all about the numbers on paper. It's about the demographics, growth strategies. Don't fight the market. We can see in Metro Detroit where demographics are changing, people are shifting, and where areas have high demand. Everyone wants to live in Birmingham and Royal Oak. Our population in Michigan is decreasing, but those two areas are increasing, and they're going to increase in price over the next 7 to 10 years. So it's strategic, it's common sense. You want to buy in good areas, especially if you're buying to hold. Know the market, look at the data, you can know where the values are going up. It's not a guessing game. And become professional network. I changed who I was growing up. I was a roughneck kid. I used to run from the cops on my bikes all the time, wear skull t-shirts. I changed, I became business professional. I changed my vocabulary, I changed my education, and I started hanging out with all these guys that were extremely successful. And the majority of them are great people. They have excellent integrity. They're sacrificing. They'll serve others. They're very, very good people, and that's why they're so successful. It's amazing what you can learn from guys like that when you surround yourself with them. And the progress that you'll have in life to not only be happy and more fulfilled, but also to build your net worth and to make more money. If you hang out with millionaires every day, you're going to become a millionaire. It's cause and effect. And there's a lot of places in Oakland County. I mean, we still have some of the wealthiest people in the country. And they hang out at the same exact bars and restaurants. I could list a handful of them. You just go there, and you just go to the bar, and you kick it. You watch sports, talk to the guy next to you, figure out what he does for a living. If you have sincere interest in people, in their backgrounds, and you really talk to them about that, they'll take an interest in you, and you'll build great friendships. And before you know it, you'll have way more money than you could ever ask for in this business. It's so easy. There's so much money in Oakland County. It's ridiculous. Absolutely. These people pay cash for $2, $3, $4 million homes in Birmingham. They just pay cash for it. Almost 50% of the sales are cash. It's crazy. And if you spend time with those people, you get to know them, you'll have money, you'll have access to capital to do deals. You just have to be passionate. You got to know your business inside and out, know the numbers, and they'll see that, and they'll want to invest in you if you're sincere. And the last thing is never quit. I've gone through several difficult times where everyone was telling me to quit. I was broke, I was living on credit cards, and I had to make the decision. You know, the first 2 years of this business were brutal, because even after I got track record a little bit, it barely cleaned the slate, paid off what I've been doing. And I see you have to wait 6 months for paychecks. It was just brutal. But I made it through it, and the best thing you can do is once you figure out what you want to do, burn all the bridges behind you. Because if you do that and you make the decision you're going to go forward, you can't fail, because you will find a way to make it work. And that's how all of us are as human beings. If we're stuck in a survival mode, we will survive if we have to. So if you put yourself in that situation, take a quote from Jeremy Bridges, make your life uncomfortable. If you do that, you will find a way to succeed in the business and you'll make money. And this is my favorite quote of all time from Winston Churchill. Everyone always butches, and I hate it. It irritates me. They just say, never give up. That's not what he said. When he got up to give a graduation speech at one of the schools during World War II, and he said, never, never, in nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force, never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy. And I'll leave you guys with that.
Question to the answer. I would like to point out I never told you to quit. I told you not to quit. Not
You did,
everyone.
Jeremy did. He said
Almost
don't-
everyone told you. So.
James, have you found appraisers will often appraise lower if they know what you paid for the property? And how do you get
Every
around
time. I recently found
No.
Brenda Brosnan. I just recently found a partial solution for this. Brenda Brosnan is a lender, and she's actually a lender herself instead of just a mortgage broker. And so now, from now on, everyone that wants to buy a house from me, I'm going to tell them they've got to get pre-certified Brenda because she has the ability to pick her own appraisers, which mortgage brokers can't do that. They'll pick a different lender for the buyer, and that lender then picks random appraisers. She has the same 3 appraisers that will push and fight tooth and nail to get that value where you need it.
What's her name again?
Brenda Brosnan,
Where does she do her homes?
all in Oakland County.
Okay.
She's very well known in Birmingham. Brenda Brosnan, what's the name of her company? Hold on. I'll tell you right now what it is. But she's fantastic. Great to work with. She has an excellent staff. And just force your buyers to use her. I don't have her company name in here. But yeah,
Google it.
Yeah, it's Brenda Brosnan. Google it in Oakland County.
Spell
You'll find
last
her.
name, please.
B-R-O-S-N-A-N.
N-A-N.
There you go. Yep, that's it. Yeah, so that'll help you for sure. In the back?
For each deal, can you tell us like how long it took people to start to
4 to 6 months, all of them. My first few, it took me 8 months. The first couple deals I did, I had so much stuff that went wrong in contractors. The first couple took me around 8 months. All of them now take 4 to 6. But we have attention to detail, and sometimes I'll drag my feet too because I've got George, who I keep working full time on salary. So if I don't have other deals lined up, I'll drag my feet and we'll take longer to rehab it and just keep him working full time.
Is that it for questions? Come on.
Did you ever pick up a hammer yourself? Yeah.
I did actually, yeah. I've worked a plethora of jobs. When I was a kid, one of my mentors, when I was 16, 17, he was through church, family, and friends, but I worked for him for a couple summers and he flipped homes. And so I painted and did a lot of that stuff, helped him put in cabinets a few times. I'm not skilled by any means. My dad worked all the time as an engineer, so he didn't teach me a lot of that stuff. I learned it through different jobs that I had, but I have done it. I painted my own place, I could do small stuff here and there, but I don't have time to do it. I got to work on the business, and I got to hire guys to do that.
Well, what I was driving at is when you're doing a rehab, do you pick up a hammer yourself? Do you have to do it?
No,
Yeah.
nope,
Okay.
never.
Were they all board expired?
What's that?
Were they all board expired?
All the people I've sold houses to?
Those last 3.
Yes. Well, Wimbledon we haven't sold yet. We're working on that one right now. I just bought it 2 weeks ago. The Birmingham one. Brenda Brosnan. She's a certified lender.
Speak up, listen up.
Yeah.
How many deals do you have going simultaneously?
I've only got 2 right now on the books, but they're bigger deals. Like we bought the Birmingham one for $320, and then I've got another one in Farmington Hills that's almost done that I've got about $315, $320 into, and I'm looking for a couple more deals right now. I usually have 3 on the books, but I've got to increase my volume slowly and expand the line of credit. Like last year I was limited on capital. The bank expanded our line of credit substantially after we had a full year of financials. So I've got more capital now to work with, but I'm going to need even more capital. So it's going to take me a few years to build enough capital with the banks to where I can do like a large volume of deals and actually build a brand long term. But right now it's usually 2 or 3 deals depending on the size and the cost.
I thought you were using the private lenders, not.
No, we structured that to where they only personally back the line of credit. I wanted it to be in the company's name, so we structured a company. I own a controlling interest. They both have equity, and they just co-sign for a personal line of credit in the company's name from private bank. So their net worths, they have liquid capital in excess to back the line of credit, each one of them individually, and that's how we got the bank to do the line of credit. But once the company's got 2 or 3 years of track record, they'll no longer need to be co-signers on that line of credit because we'll have financials with the company. So that's the idea, is we structure the company, we build track record, the brand, and then that company will have financials on its own that banks will lend to.
James, I'm assuming with the amount of work that you're doing in these houses, with your pulling permits, pardon me, doing everything to code, How is Birmingham to work with? Getting
Birmingham
better?
is fabulous. Farmington Hills sucks. You should burn Farmington Hills down there too. Birmingham is amazing. They've been beyond friendly. They're so easy to work with. They're actually letting me pull the permits technically as the homeowner, even though my company owns it. They're the best that I've worked with so far. And when I was getting started, I didn't pull permits. West Bloomfield, I never pulled permits until I got caught a few times, and I had to. And then Farmington Hills, we did pull permits, but they've been a nightmare to work with. They've cost me thousands of dollars. What I thought I was going to have to spend on permits.
And are you doing Bloomfield Hills in that area as well?
I've looked at a lot of properties in Bloomfield. I haven't actually done any flips there though. I've done Franklin, Beverly Hills, a lot of West Bloomfield, Lathrop Village, Farmington Hills, and Birmingham. I've looked in Bloomfield, but the market's a little slower turnaround time there, and it's also more of a prestigious market, and properties sell pretty fast. I just haven't picked anything up there. I'm surprised I haven't yet, but I'm sure one day.
Are your backers getting a percentage of everything that's sold to the company? Is that how they're being
Yeah,
compensated?
yep, they own a percentage of the company. But they're very generous the way these guys structured it, overly generous actually. As soon as I remove their liability from the line of credit where they no longer have to sign for it personally, their ownership goes down to 10% each, and I own 80% of the company, and then I can buy them out at a multiple.
So each closing, you're paying them up? Or
Yeah,
you're writing them a check for
what we structure is we'll leave a certain amount of capital. I'll sit down with Tom, which is my partner who has the most time. We'll go through the deal. We'll close it out with our CPA that runs the books for us all the time, and we'll figure out how much profit we had. We'll keep a percentage in the company just for flexibility purposes. We'll distribute everything else out to us directly as
So
owners.
it's just when you have a closing?
Yep.
Everything is different.
Yep, and I get a cut off the top actually. I get more than half the profits because I get a cut off the top for a management fee. I pay myself like a CM, 10% of rehab cost, so I can write checks for that as a living stipend almost, a little rent and stuff. But they were very generous the way we structured it. Overly
It's
generous.
a good structure for everybody. That's good.
You got direct mail. Any tips there as far as how to structure that? Or?
I just started doing it, man. I've been studying Greg Pinio's stuff, so I'm using larger envelopes and paying more per letter. Probably cost me $1 a letter, but the response rate's been great, especially for Birmingham. Usually those higher demand areas, you're gonna have a lower response rate. But yeah, use high quality paper type. Very sincere in the letter. Break it up into 3 paragraphs. Tell them briefly who I am, what I'm doing, and then approach it from their perspective of how I can benefit them as a seller. So I'm taking the perspective of a lot of these people who live in these homes for 30 years. They don't want to pay to renovate their house. They don't want, and the real estate agent, if they're going to list it on market, is going to make them clean their house up. It's full of stuff. It's deferred maintenance. They're older, they're moving out because they're most likely moving into a home somewhere. And so the property that I just bought in Birmingham, I could have saved Mary so much trouble if I would have sat down with her before she listed her house. We could have saved $30,000 in real estate commissions, and I could have structured the deal where it was more flexible and beneficial for her. So that's kind of how I've written those letters, is to target the older demographic and tell them how I can help them and save them time, headache, hassle. You don't want 20 people traipsing through your house, every couple of days, and you don't have to leave your home. She had to leave her home every time I went to go see it, So it's just a headache for them.
So you don't find that people, if you're coming to them asking for this their home, they're not saying, yeah, I'll sell it to you, but since you obviously want my house, you're going to pay for it.
Oh, there's a couple guys, yeah. Get phone calls like that once in a while. I did get a voicemail. I haven't called him back yet. I was going on vacation. But there was a guy that pretty much said that in the voicemail. I'm still going to call him back. I'll mess with him a little bit. But yeah, so you get some of those. But you also get great people that are serious sellers. I sat down with an Italian guy who's 75. He wants to move to New York. He owns 10 different properties, walking distance to downtown Birmingham. And most of them are free and clear. And some of them are multi-family, huge commercial properties. None of them are on market. He wants to move in 2 years, liquidate his assets, move to New York with his son. And I'm sitting down with him pre-market, negotiating terms to start with a couple of his properties, and then hopefully eventually buy the rest of them. But you get crazy deals like that. You can structure stuff that's beneficial for him, and it's not even on market.
So you just go, do you specifically target, and you just determine which properties you want, make a list, and then just go out that way, or you just kind of want to certain?
I'm doing both. So I'm driving, and I'll make a high priority list of all the houses I see that have deferred maintenance. Sometimes I'll even pull a public record on my phone while I'm in the car, see who owns it, see what they owe on it. But then I started by mailing all the non-owner occupant properties in Birmingham, and I haven't even finished doing that yet. So all the ones that are investor owned, or the people don't live in, it's not their primary residence, I'm mailing all those first. Then I'm going to mail a certain SEV or lower than a certain SEV based on the neighborhood. So I've mapped out all of Birmingham. I know the values in all the neighborhoods, and I'm going to mail all the SCVs below a certain number in each of those neighborhoods based on the values. So I'll get like the bottom half of the properties, the ones that are in the worst condition that have been owned the longest.
James, do you know if there's a free and clear non-owner occupant list you can?
I haven't figured out a way to do that with the MLS yet. There might be some way to search it, but I haven't figured out how to do that because that's usually in the public record information. And there's no component in the database where you can search for that specifically. You got to physically look at it, unfortunately.
You can buy a list though.
Can you?
There's lists you can buy. It's typically, there's a minimum. There's like either 10 cents an address, and there's usually like a $250 minimum. But it could be anything: owner occupied, non-owner occupied, free and clear, zip code. The specific if you want it, but you're paying for the information.
You'll miss some people on that free and clear list. People that have equity lines that
Yeah.
haven't drawn won't show up on that.
It's not perfect.
Really? Okay.
So for a long time I had an equity line. It was a lien file, but I didn't do anything wrong.
Interesting.
But I would not have shown up on that. SUVs rising in Birmingham?
Stuff's going through the roof in Birmingham. I mean, I guess I haven't looked at SEVs. It looks like they have risen the last year.
Did they go up this year?
Yeah,
Did they,
I believe they have. The ones I've looked at have. They've gone up.
You know what percentage? They're starting to rise in Farmington Hills now too.
Are they?
It's a mixed blessing. But it's, I mean, it's a mixed blessing. It's nice when they're long term when they go down, but they're starting to go up.
That's great. Oh, back.
Use any land trust at all? No.
I don't, not yet. I'm not that sophisticated. I've been pretty simple with my approach. I figured I'd start with one thing that I know, do it as well as I can, then I'll start expanding my vocabulary in other areas of real estate.
Quick comment on land trusts in Michigan. You can't get title insurance into the land trust. You can do the land trust. You can put the property in the land trust. So we spent a year and a half trying to get any title company in the state of Michigan to insure title going into the trust, and we're unsuccessful. So we determined that it's unworthy of the risk not having an insurable title. So keep that in mind.
Did they say why that is?
Well, they don't like not knowing who owns the trust, which is kind of the freaking purpose of the trust. So, might as well just move on and save yourself a couple grand setting up the trust. There are plenty of states that don't mind doing it, and they will do it. Sorry, keep going.
You're voicemail, do you use service for that?
No, it's actually, I've been using my controller who does all of our finances. And I've just been paying her to do them. Hand address the envelopes, stamp them, and then we'll print them off. I did the signature and we print them in color, so it looks like I've signed them. She'll package them, hand address them, and mail them.
Any other markets you see getting hotter, like Birmingham or other?
Oh yeah, they're on fire. Those markets are going to go up, man. If you can buy and hold there, do it. You're going to go up the next 7 to 10 years for sure.
Anything else you see in some of those old traditional downtown type communities?
Those are outside of my scope. I've got so much going on just with Central Oakland County that I haven't even gone outside Central Oakland County. So Northville, I haven't touched those markets. I'm mostly going to focus, I think, just on Birmingham, Beverly Hills, Franklin, Royal Oak. There's so much to do there. So much to do in there. I can't even do it all. You know?
Any questions? This is it. All right, let's give James a hand. Hey, it makes it sound easy, except you didn't see all the